live.
Welcome back to our early edition of the Hockey Nation Live Show with you co-host, Coach Frenchy, directly from the Sunshine State. And we have to go to find all the way to the West Coast, the co-host, Michael De Villano.
Pierre, we have a crazy amount of information coming at us this morning.
The last one, the defenseman, 21 years old, Rasmus Dahlin, signed a contract of 3 years at $6 million, $18 million for the Buffalo Sabres. That's the last news we got. Maybe like 15 minutes before we get live here, Michael. That's what's happening for the Buffalo Sabres. But he's not the only one. We know the training camp start, Michael, today, most for the physical and mid-call, everything like that. And you can see now that all the RFA are signing more and more. You can have a couple of players happening yesterday. 3 more to go. Brady, Tkachuk, Quinn, Hughes, Elias, Peterssen. And I nailed it. I nailed it again with Dahlin. I was predict 3 and 6. I predict 5 and 9 for Kaprizov. I predict also 8 and 8. The Brady, Tkachuk, the situation, and it's not about the money anymore. Well, it is what it is not. Yes. The problem, Michael, he wants sending bonus. The young player or the star, they would like to get bonus money if they reach this. But the Ottawa Senators, Michael, have a policy. They never gave anybody signing bonus. So that's what the problem there. I believe it will increase maybe from $8 million to 8.4 to adjust the signing bonus. I would not be surprised that's the case or the situation for Brady, Tkachuk. Completely in Vancouver, Michael. They have a big news like that. Step up with money. More Vancouver is going down. Every time that. So if I was them, I trade Quinn Hughes to the New Jersey Devils. And they have the 3 brothers and Hughes and Devils, and the Devils can send him another player, whatever, Ty Smith or something like that.
Well, I was going to ask you, so who would you rather have, Quinn Hughes or Ty Smith?
It depends, right? Because I would say to you, I think Ty Smith overall is a better defenseman.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Because you have a defensive, everything like that. And I think the New Jersey will not be more advantage to get Quinn Hughes because they have already looked, and they have also Dougie Hamilton, and they are also a little bit the offensive of Ty Smith plus Piquet Subban. So you have a lot of, your top 5 of the 6 are really based on offensive. And then also you have Ren Graves over there.
Right. I really like that acquisition.
Right.
I think it's improved that deal a lot.
Yeah. And then for the Devils, the product you're going to get, they have to pay Quinn Hughes with a lot of money.
That's the thing. I think I'd rather have Ty Smith, and he'll be cheaper.
Yeah. I just, the key behind that, which I mentioned to you, is because the 3 brothers used together.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
It was nothing like, I predict this or I expect that part over there. But it was just this part of there. We have a lot of people in the house this morning. First of all, Michael, we have to go right away with Mr. Jarmo Virtanen, directly from Finland. Michael, it's a long time we did not see about Jarmo. By the way, Jarmo, people ask you all the time, the morning or the evening, so you really miss be a part of the Hockey Nation Live Show. Jane, thanks to join us this morning.
We also have Frank Salazar with us.
Frank Salazar, directly from South Florida, the #1 Cuban guy with a big cigar, Michael. The party guy with Brett Marchand in the chat is Frank Salazar. But he's busy recently, Michael. We didn't see Frank for a couple of days. Was really busy recently, so glad to see Frankie. Of course, directly from Toronto, the Wolf in our tap, back in the house this morning. Welcome, everybody.
Different schedule for Jarmo. So the other big news that we, of course, I don't know if you talked about this last night, was the announcement that finally we have good news for the Minnesota Wild. Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov, the reigning Rookie of the Year, has signed the 5-year, $45 million contract. I think this is interesting because it takes him, he's 24, and it takes him to 29. This might actually be a smart deal for Minnesota.
Yeah, I think overall, Michael, is the balance, right? So they give him a little bit more money what he should get at that moment because I think he only played 50 game, Michael, in the NHL. You get $9 million. He have 28 goal. I understand what he can do in the NHL and everything like that, right? But at the same time, he get more money, but he get a little bit longer years to get sure he's not on the UFA at 26, 27. So he gave them a 2 extra year for the Minnesota Wild, and in return he got maybe $1.5 million more. What my expectation would be for him after only play 50 goal. You can go with him with 1 year or 2 years contract, and then go to see what he become after that on UFA. But at that moment, I think it's a both parties win something. What I said yesterday is on the show we're talking about. For me, to be worthy for at least for the Minnesota Wild, Michael, he need to produce at least a 40 goal per year and a 70 point per season to get this $9 million. He can get a 40-30. I think it's a great season for him. He deserves that kind of money. About that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously it's a big jump salary wise for him. He is a world class player. That is obvious. I do compare him favorably to Artemi Panarin, who's a little bit older. The impact on Minnesota with and without him is going to be significant. As long as he's healthy, this is one of the top 5 or 10 players in the game. Maybe like he's that good. So it's going to be good though because it takes him to 29. They get a half a decade with a relative, his best years, and then they can figure it out. Like, does he want to stay after that or not? But they have like some runway here, Pierre, to be really competitive. We saw Marco Rossi in the prospect camp. We saw Matthew Boldy, and those are 2 really good players that might. I mean, Rossi for sure, I think, is on this roster. I'd be shocked if he's not. So you combine Kaprizov, Rossi, Eriksson Ek, and some of the other pieces, and Minnesota looks like they're going to be competitive for a while.
Yeah, definitely about that one over there. The problem with Minnesota is that next year, the following year after that, the next 3 years with the salary cap buyout with Sutter and everything like that put them at $14 million for 3 guys. But I think the fact they're going maybe to get Boldy and Rosie over there, and the third one, I'm not remember his last name, at 900,000, that will
Eriksson Ek, yeah.
Drop the salary, everything like that. Now the key after that is to see what we do with Kevin Fiala. Next year, he's become another 1 year. He's just signed a 1 year, $5 million, I believe, as a RFA. So Yamo is watching a lot of game in KHL. By the way, it's 3-3 right now. Yeah, we just got a goal. I'm watching a lot of goal in KHL game right now. That's just didn't by B and power play just score. But anyway, Yamo, hopefully you're doing well, and we're going to hopefully see you when the season restart October 12, 13, 14. Hopefully you'll be a part of the show. Is stop by one day. I don't know what you're going to do now. Kokenimi is now with the Carolina, but we still have Armia Ilikanen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because like you look at who comes off the books, and you've got $4 million that'll free up with Victor Rask. You'll only have 2 more years left of Zuccarello, who right now plays really great for them. So this might all work out. Like, I think they've got a game plan of how to move the money around so it works. I mean, this contract's still crazy. I guess we'll see what happens with Goligoski. Was kind of shocking. But again, he comes off the books. So between Goligoski...
$9 million is going to be out of the lineup for sure next season.
Yeah. So it might work out.
Yeah, but you're going to be limited because you have 40 million with no head on them, right? So there'll be struggle about that one over there, and they will have to get. So you have to go a little bit lower to pick up their UFA, their prospect, and that's what it came now with them, Rosie and Boldy. So that would be the way to get there.
A lower end D-man or rookie D-man that will really surprise this year point wise. To think about that one. I'm not sure. Ty Smith to me is a type of guy that could come up with 35, 40 points. And he won't be very expensive because he's still on his entry level contract. We saw some good stuff from him last year in New Jersey. So that's the one name that comes to my mind, Tap. So I don't know if Pierre has anything, but that's what I would think. All right. Oh,
He's talking about Winnipeg or not? That's my
yeah,
question. He talk about Minnesota or all around the.
I don't know. There wasn't really a
That's why I'm
contact.
not sure about that one over there.
I think he's
Yes,
yeah.
Yarmo, to answer to you, Jesse Ilonen, Michael, is a really surprise decision for him. He does not want to get a vaccination. He refused to get it, everything like that, and people was upset about this yesterday, and the reason he didn't participate, and then blah blah blah. And then they find out today one of the member of his family passed away because he got vaccination.
Oh wow.
So he have a background where he's really upset or scared, whatever it is the word. So I don't know, Yamo. That's where you want to talk about
pretty
this.
legitimate.
I'm saying again.
That sounds pretty legitimate reason.
Yeah. So at that moment, so that's what happened with him. He participated to the game yesterday. It was his first game at training camp. It'll be with Montreal Canadiens. But if it's the case, Michael, he cannot cross the border without the vaccination. So he's going to maybe missing 20, 25, 30 game and the American Hockey League if he played with them. So it'll be really interesting about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, of course, like everything, they don't tell you the truth about it. So we don't see any information about that. You have to like really dig. You see, oh, he refuses it. Well, there's a good reason. Like these guys are young and healthy. Like this is not a.
Yeah, another one. Michael, you have on the. I don't know. It was on Sirius this morning on TSN. Jeez, I have so many things I'm watching. I'm listening, but there was, as the fans, you and me, including, we judge very quickly some situation, right? We jumping on quickly on things we don't know. Example like Jonathan Drouin situation where we can understand more his problem. And we a lot of people was upset about Ilonen, why he does not do this, blah blah blah. And then
because they don't give any context,
right? So that's what happening about that one over there. So I just want to mention the situation. So that's the case about Ilonen, Yamo, and then we welcome Michael Rosenblatt between somewhere at the school. Michael, one here listening the teacher, and one here is listening Michael De Villano.
Oh, Michael Rosenblatt. Sorry. So I'm just looking ahead at training camps. First off, as we see starting tomorrow, we'll see the first practices, and then some games are coming up. This is the Detroit Red Wings schedule. What I haven't seen yet is the Detroit Red Wings roster for training camp. We know Bobby Ryan will be there on PTO. He played okay last year. He is what he is, which is a talented guy that doesn't show up every game. So he goes invisible, and when something motivates him, he plays really well. But the most exciting thing, I think, for Detroit, the play of Lucas Raymond in the prospect tournament. Hopefully Jonathan Berggren is healthy because it sounds like he got hurt in the prospect tournament. And so that's an issue. We'll hopefully see Jared McIsaac, who also got hurt again. And we know he's had a long battle with injuries the last few years, particularly shoulder injuries. Joe Veleno should, has an opportunity to make the roster spot. And the big thing for Detroit was, I would say, Moritz Seider not being at the rookie camp. And despite being like 20, but we know he was I always forget. I thought he was the rookie of the year last year in Sweden, but wasn't he like the defenseman of the year in Sweden?
Yeah.
So we kind of let's not underestimate that. This guy is going right to main camp for a reason. They want to keep him healthy. He has nothing to prove other than, hey, I'm his, where I rank, I think. And at this point, I can't see him not being on the opening night roster for Detroit. But
that's another great subject you bring on the table, Michael, because yesterday, during the camp, Zegras got hurt.
Zegras got hurt too.
And they are thinking yesterday about the fact maybe something would be a little bit more careful about to send players at the showcase like that. What happening right now for the rookie, everything like that. Secondly, I think the problem in my book, or what it was said, a lot of players did not play a lot of games the last 2 years, example, or 18 months, whatever. So some people, they will send a little bit more the those guys like, Zegras, everything like that, to get more game. That's the reason why he was participate. If not, he would not be there, honestly. And that's another case happening, for other players it's front team, where they say, you know what, we're not going to use him. On the flip side, a guy like Maurice, he played many games in Sweden on overseas last season, so you don't have to be that part over there.
Way
Like
ahead.
Cole Caulfield example, right? He played 20, 32 game, and those kids like him and Suzuki, they just came back like 80 days ago. They was still
Right.
play hockey, right?
Yeah.
We have a couple of decisions by this front team about it's worth it to bring them on that organization and not to give them a chance for a fourth, a fifth, or a third round pick or a
Yeah.
sixth round pick to participate at those camp. And that's where you see more and more. And you can see those little bit their star or the prospect they expect to be a part of the team. Like I think Andon Lundell was not necessary to be at the rookie camp, to be honest with you, like Raymond or Oles. But again, they try to show the team like that. But you're going to see less the next couple of years.
Maybe.
I think you're going to drop more those kind of players at their camp, at the training camp. Like Pinto is a great example where honestly he does not to be there. He was one step over everybody on the ice, and injury could happen. That's the sadness behind everything. So
For sure.
just want to mention the reason why I believe Sailor Morris was not participate at that camp.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm hoping that there's not a problem. Sounds like they pulled Jonathan Bergen for precaution. So even that, right? Like, here he is. He comes over. We know he's had injuries in the past, and that's kind of slowed his development a little bit. He had a great year in the SHL. He gets hurt in game 3, and they're like, forget it. Like, just pull him. So I think the fact that they pull him is probably good because they're describing it as precautionary.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's precautionary for McIsaac. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Hopefully Berggren doesn't have a serious injury. Yeah, here we go, Jonathan. So, again, they said it's precautionary. So, hopefully that's all it is, right? Like,
definitely. Like yesterday, Lundell did not play for Florida Panthers, and so they prepare. Everybody's prepared for the training camp. By the way, the NHL training camp, most of them start today, Michael, with a mid-call, physical situation for each player, for each team. So a lot of teams step up to it today. We have tomorrow also, and then the scrimmage this weekend game. Again, other team, everything like that, start right away this weekend. So we'll be interesting. A lot of news around the league. I think you mentioned earlier. We forgot to mention Elvis Mesklinen for the Columbus Blue Jackets signed also a 5 years contract at $27 million.
So he gets $5.4 million a year. I think he said, like, we know we had that tragedy in the offseason with the third goalie in the system. And I think they're like, I want to win a Vezina for him. So he's pretty committed. To get him at 5.4 might end up being very cheap in the next few years, depending on as long as he continues to play really well, obviously. But
yeah, Columbus have difficulties with the goaltender, but it was a team general difficulty, so you cannot blame them. But if you look about their stat, Copicello and him, the last 5 years or the year they are in the NHL, they're doing very well usually. One of the best duo, I believe, when they play at that level. They are one of the best top 10, at least 12 in the NHL, to be honest with you. So,
he had good numbers about that. I mean, I think he played well in the playoffs before. Like, so we saw him a little bit here. It was good. He had, played 33 games, 923 save percentage. Yes, the numbers dip, but he's still a 916 save percentage in 28 games. So I think this could end up being very cheap for them. Like, I don't see it's early enough, but at this point, man, that could be a really good deal for Columbus. Good morning, Hill, our Ottawa Senators fan. Appreciate you commenting on the Logan Brown issue. So I'm not familiar with what the Logan Brown issue is. Was this the injuries that he's had up to this point? Maybe that's what Corey's talking about.
Well, they just signed him, Michael. Nobody was expecting him to get over there because I think the problem there, many of the fans of the Ottawa Senators prefer to get Shane Pinto in the lineup and not to get Logan Brown, everything like that. So that's why some of them believe the spot should go to Pinto and let it go. Logan Brown, where overall did not do very, very, very,
Yeah, he
performing
hasn't
over there.
really blossomed by any means. He had a decent year in the AHL, but I think his numbers are probably a little inflated. But he's a decent AHL player so far. He's a big guy, so he
never carry on this, Michael, on NHL. That's the
that's the
biggest
thing.
problem for me at that moment right there, right?
Yeah, but I think at 750 grand, like that is super cheap. And I don't think he's going to challenge for a top six. I think he's more like, bottom six, which might be fine. Like if he can do that, that's not a big deal. Good morning to Greg John. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Question was meant for the team and the league. So this is any defenseman. Yeah, that's so the name Ty Smith is what kind of popped in my head. I guess we'll have to think about others. So the other signing that we had that was the Robert Thomas signing. And I know you kind of were predicting he'd get like $3 million. I'm still a little perplexed by this. It's only 2 years at 2.8, but this is he had 3 goals last year and he had 10 goals the year before. So, but I guess he's had injury problems. It's going to be interesting to see. This feels like Robbie Fabry 2.0, which he's a similar player. So if he can score 20 goals, but at least Robbie had scored 20 goals, and Robbie's got like identical contract, right?
Yeah, I think overall he get a little bit higher. We expect I think a 2.3, a 2.5 max. So, they was consider him a little bit like Kokanemi at some point about contract. To a contract like him between 2.5. I think he got about $300 more million, honestly. But again, he got hurt last season. He's a guy at least expect about 15 goals this season. And his role is going to be increasing, I believe, in that organization now. And they expect him. They have a lot of expectation for him. They believe on him. Doug Armstrong talked on the NHL Network about him, and he said, "Look, he's not going nowhere. We want him. He's only 22 years old. Play very well with us. So we expect him, to be part of the team, and we count on him a lot. So I believe that's the reason why."
Pierre, I thought, just going back, sorry to change subjects here, but I thought that the contract for Drouin was 3 years, but they're saying it's 2. That's wrong. It's got to be 3 years. Yeah, it's 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
I wonder why that other article was saying it was 2, and I'm like, really? That's okay.
Yeah, so the only thing maybe they would mention is the $2 million.
Maybe
on the Senate bonus, and then is AAV.
No.
I'm sorry.
You can see what they were saying is wrong, which is they're saying he signed 2 years. Yeah, see where it says 2 years? I'm like, that's wrong.
And he got $5 million this year, and then he got
so it's interesting how they've structured it. So he'll get 5, 5.8, and 7.2. So he's set up for,
he still get for the team AAV $6 million, right?
Yeah,
but again, like we mentioned, sometime you get there, and then also the reason why he get more money at the end is because the salary cap for the team increase more and more. And 3 years going to be $3 million. Is going to be at $44 million. So welcome, Mr. Oleg Kolesnikov from Russia, Siberia.
Is Vancouver? I think this actually helps Vancouver because if they can get Quinn Hughes at $6 million, and they get
the rumor yesterday from Elliot Feldman, he's looking for $8 million.
Yeah, that's. He is not better than Rasmus Dahlin.
Yes and no. I think on the offensive side a bit better. I believe he play a lot of minutes like him. But at the end of the day, they were looking more about it depends on the longevity of the contract of what Quinn Hughes can get 21 years old.
Yep. So they have what? They only have $10 million in cap space. I don't know how it's gonna, but they're gonna move a lot of this around, obviously.
I don't know, Michael. They are stuck. Honestly, they have a difficult time. I believe Vancouver would try to make a trade at some point. I think J.D. Miller is the one I believe they would try to move.
That makes sense.
They not do too much after that. You look the lineup, Michael. They have nothing they can do.
Yeah, they've got to get rid of a JT Miller for sure.
They have no choice. If they want to keep both kids,
I don't.
I think there will be something like that. But I will knock the door. If you can get something in return for Quinn Hughes, I will knock the door. But again, they are rare, the player like him. They are rare, the kids like Peterssen. Now, can they trade maybe, Michael, Ovat or Barzer? Could happen also.
Probably. Yeah, I think that they will shop Besser.
I think they will shop
But
for sure.
they're not going to move Horvat. I can't see that happening. That's their captain, and he's a pretty effective second line player. But yeah, even Besser is a good player, and they might move him. I mean, that would be a win for someone. He's pretty reasonable.
Sorry about Oleg. I'm talking about Vasilev, so I apologize for that. But I'm sure you are that area in Moscow.
Yeah. How do these contracts affect the remaining RFAs? I mean, I think it definitely sets the value for Quinn Hughes at $6 million. I don't see how you can pay Quinn Hughes $8 million. You pay Drouin 6. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, Drouin is a better overall defenseman for sure. But we're gonna find out. Stats speak, right? So he's gonna be like, "Oh, I got a point a game." Yeah, you're a minus, whatever. But
I think on the Peterssen point, they will wait a little bit to see what Tkachuk get, and then Peterssen will turn around after that to get Tkachuk after that.
Right.
Well, Quinn Hughes affect him a little bit. Oh, look, he just signed that in for $6 million. So he can turn around to tell to Quinn Hughes, hey, buddy, we're going to give you 6.5 or $7 million for 3 years or something like that, and have a bridge contract for a couple of years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The good news for the Vancouver, Michael, Hughes cannot go nowhere.
We can't go anywhere.
Because he have a contract with the rules 10.2C, so he cannot get any offer sheet, everything like that.
Yeah, he's got no arbitration rights, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't think Miller is an option for Montreal. Like, I don't see how that would work. Like, I think with Dvorak, that kind of ends that discussion.
The problem with GD Miller, Michael, he become a third center example for Montreal Canadiens, and you pay too much money to get a third center at $3 million. Now, the Quinn Hughes for Montreal Canadiens just opened my eyes a lot, because Montreal Canadiens don't have that kind of players like him, and I don't know what would be the cost to get Quinn Hughes, almost like Cole Caulfield. And I don't know Montreal can do that. I don't know they can trade Suzuki for him. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about the top of the top. So they will look for your team, which the best, right? But I don't know.
I don't think it's a benefit. I mean, unless you're getting him just as a salary dump and you can fit him. And I think more than anything, if Montreal needs help, they need a D. I mean, it would be nice to be able to upgrade one of their top 4.
Well, for Montreal, Michael is the top 2. And that's the reason. I think for me, for them, for Montreal, be a little bit more waiting more. I think Morgan Riley is really the targeting for Montreal Canadiens. They have to move for next season a UFA.
Yeah, I can't imagine them not getting that guy under contract. It's crazy if they let him walk in Toronto. If you all right, so training camp wise, I don't know what you want to do. We see that the schedule and the roster's out for Montreal. We're waiting for
70 players over there. 40 7 players over there. They have 40 and forward, 23 defensemen, 7 goaltender. The rookie players came from the rookie camp is Tori Tello, Cedric Derisso, Justin Duchamp, Gianni Fairbrother, Alexis Gravel, Caden Cooley, Raphael Harvey Pinard, Cam Ellis, Jan Mizak, Matthias Norlander, Joshua Roy, Xavier Simoneau, Daniel Sobolev, and of course, Jesse Ilonen and Amber Jack Ice, whatever his last name, whatever, I don't know pronounce it yet, and Joe Verdick, the goaltender. But the news this morning came from about Raleigh Ritney is come back right away back in the QM about this, Michael. Talking about QM, Michael, the St. John got the Memorial Cup for 2022 in the QM. St. John they host the Memorial Cup in 2022, Michael.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if we'll be in contention this year for it, but
So that's what happened. And talking about news around the league, Michael, or around the world hockey, Kyle Peterssen, goaltender, Los Angeles Kings, expect to sign a new contract today. That's the news from this morning. And then the USHL prospect are played this weekend. A lot of scouts going to be there to watching the USHL. I'm going to pay a little bit more attention about what's going on over there for the weekend and USHL. So that's what happening around the NHL. For the Montreal Canadiens, that's normal. The Florida Panthers have about 60 players right now. That's what happened. And again, they would cut very quickly this weekend. They have 3 practices with 3 different colors, red, white. And so that's what happened. 2 colors for the Montreal Canadiens players, but I think they invite more players to see. They're going to cut very quickly during the weekend. And that's what happened. The first game is Saturday night, 7 o'clock, in Toronto. They play that game at 7 o'clock Saturday and Sunday. They have no game. It's going to be only Red and White at the Bell Center. And Monday, they are back at home again, the Toronto at 7 o'clock. That's the game I'm going to try to catch up at some point. But that's what happening for the news for the Montreal Canadiens. Not big surprise overall, Michael, for the Montreal Canadiens. The player to watch is me, Zach Norlander, Cooley, Harvey Pinard. They are really one. I want to see Fairbrother for me, and also Joshua Roy, Michael, have a great week with the Montreal Canadiens. I believe is a 4-round pick, but I could be wrong about him. So they are really the player I'm looking for the camp. How long to be there? Norlander is going to be really the eyes on him for maybe one chance to make the team if it's something could happen. It's a long shot, but who knows what could happen. I believe for me, it would be better for them to come back at home to play back in the overseas, back in the Sweden next season.
yeah, he's a 5th-round pick, but he played pretty well at that camp. So we'll see how he does in this main camp. That's the big thing. He did really well in the Q last year, so I think they're expecting big things out of him. Guess we'll see. Is he going to be in the AHL though? They're showing him as the Q again.
Which one?
Joshua Roy.
Yeah, he'll be back, and he was going to be back in St. John next season.
Yeah, because he's a 2003. So.
Well, he's back now, Sherbrooke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sherbrooke. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. Let's see. So I know we have our friend that's an Ottawa Senators fan. I haven't kept up. Let's see if they have their training camp schedule and roster. And Pierre, I know you wanted to kind of go through questions for each of the teams.
Yeah, we're going to go through the people, what he said. Mike, coach, do you think Kaprizov will regret signing his distinction with Minnesota because the last few years sound like Minnesota has struggled drafting the first round, especially? I don't think so. I think Minnesota, Michael, pretty good on the draft pick overall.
Boldy, they're both
Rosie over there. I think the next step for them would be a goaltender or maybe a defenseman. That would be something you have to look at some point. So I think overall it's great. Kaprizov just showed to the team he wants to stay around. So I think it's good signature for both organizations. And we'll be interesting what Kaprizov, like I said, he needs to score 40 goals over there, Michael, with that part over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good stories in Ottawa. So just looking at their camp roster, you've got to think the guy that I'm curious about is Lasse Thompson. I think he'll be up sooner than later. He looks like he's really going to be a solid defenseman. Maybe he's just a top 6. Jacob Bernard Docker. Again, I guess we don't have Jake Sanderson. Like, it looks like he's going back to college. So that's unfortunate.
No, Sanderson's back over there.
He's back in college, you're saying?
Yeah. He does not play in Ottawa. He was not everything like that. They expect Zokolov have a good camp, but he's going to be back in American Hockey League. He's going to start with American Hockey League. That's what the comments about that.
Who is that?
Zokolov.
Is he a forward or?
Yes, he's a forward. Big guy. Just came for the training camp, the rookie camp, play with Pinto.
I don't know why I'm not picturing who that is, but let's see, where is he? Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, this is just the second year of Stützle. It's going to be important for them to get a contract done with Brady Tkachuk because he's a big part of that. Like you can see, without him in this mix, things don't look so amazing. You know, Colin White's okay. Tim Stützle, who knows? Like he's entering his second year. Sometimes that's a problem when you have sophomore slump. Shane Pinto really doesn't have a long track record in the NHL. So this is still a very young team. Connor Brown, we know, has played real well. Batherson signed his contract. So I don't know. I think they're still a little ways away, and there's still lots of questions to your point in net. I know they're holding out high hopes for Philip Gustafsson, and he looked pretty good last year. So I would think it's probably Murray and Gustafsson. And then long term, you know, they're looking for development out of Matt Sogar. But, you know, this team could still finish in the bottom 6 in the NHL. So it's going to be interesting to see. If they don't have...
I expect a little bit higher, Michael, because the division is a little bit strong, but over there. 22, 24, 2024 could be a good year for them.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yep.
Good morning, Canadian Giant. Thanks for joining us. With the depth of the Panthers in terms of center prospects, do you think we'll have to move Heponiemi to the wing permanently? Yeah, I think he's going to run into issues of even making that team even on the wing. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I could see him moving out and them getting a pick or something, or a younger prospect, but he's not that old, I guess. Cal Peterssen, sounds like this contract is done, Pierre. 3 years, $5 million.
Yeah, it's just confirmed on Twitter. I just got it also. At the same time, I was listening to you. 3 to 5. Yeah, I just told you guys before, like 10 minutes ago.
Crazy. Well, I think he's a real good goalie. As we said before, he's 27.
Yeah, he have a great number, Michael. He become the goaltender number 1 of the organization now. Everything is under him. So they expect him to get that level and go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that when they did the players poll, I don't know if you recall, just before at the end of the year, of who the most underrated players were, and the number 1 underrated player was Cal Peterssen.
Yeah.
So the other players recognize how good this guy is. Good morning, Bud the Monkey. Thanks for joining us. Anthony Manzano says, I'm predicting this already. I don't see Brady or Matthews staying with their current teams. Maybe Minnesota or Arizona. Nah, I think Brady will stay in Ottawa. Calgary, I don't know what's going on in Calgary. There's something up there. Should Ottawa go out and get a veteran center, and who should they get? JT Miller. I mean, if anyone has assets that are young to trade to Vancouver to ease the salary issue, it would be Ottawa. And having a JT Miller in Ottawa would be really beneficial. I mean, I think he would really elevate their overall program.
My best answer for this one, Michael, I will not take any veteran player right now. I will let the young play to get more experience, to develop more in the NHL, like Pinto, everything like that. Whatever they make mistake, whatever they have a good defense, a good center example, right? That would not helping them to finish what they should be finished or make them a better team at that moment. I think for them is to be a little bit more patient, wait maybe in 2 years where they're missing a couple of puzzle or what they need to now to become a contender, to become like, playoff team, everything like that. So for me, I would not take more bigger contract or everything like that. Let's play the young men and go from there. I think DJ Smith does an amazing, great job behind the bench, and let's play the young kids, and that's what would be the best thing for them.
Yeah, they still have holes, but I think you're right. Like, we want to see Josh Norris, we want to see Shane Pinto get a chance, but I don't know. I think that there's still room there. Connor Brown's done a good job with the extra time. I don't know. I feel like JT Miller would only help them take another step, but I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. Like, at what point the D is good enough and the goaltending is good enough, and that's probably going to be their key, because I think they'll be okay on forward for a while.
But the problem to get JT Miller, you're going to give something young for him.
That's the thing. That's why I said they would have young assets. Like, they still have younger guys. I'm trying to think of who would be a good, wouldn't hurt them. Like, who would it be? Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it, but I kind of think that they've got a lot of young assets still that they could let go. Let's take a look. Although most of them are in the NHL, I guess, aren't they? Let's see. What do they got? Tyler Boucher. Ridley Gregg. I mean, I would move out a Ridley Gregg and Tyler Boucher to get a JT Miller. I don't know how much time Miller's got on his contract, but something like that I could see if they would bite on it. Like those are possibilities. I wouldn't cry if a Ridley Gregg or a Tyler Boucher were gone. Lassie Thompson's pretty good. Like, I think that he's just ready to go. So I don't know. Those would be the only names that kind of pop up. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe a draft pick in that. Who knows? But to your point, like, does it really matter? Do you just wait? Because you got a lot of good young players on the roster.
I heard it's because what GD Miller would bring to the team right now, I don't think so that we make the team right now to make the playoff and to have a long run, everything like that. So you better to develop your own players and see what's happening. And then in 2 years, Michael, what is missing? They will have that kind of money to get something where it's really worth it at that. And 2023 example. That's my point about him. I don't said, you know what I mean? Like, don't do it. I just feel like as a manager, I will wait more and develop Thompson, develop those kids. Logan Brown, everything like that, give them time on the NHL, learn from that. Exactly what DJ Smith said last year. I sent Pinto, Tkachuk, and I don't remember who he was on the shootout. I just want them to learn. I don't care we win or lose. With them to give that kind of pressure to understand it was Tim. So that's the way I believe they should do the same way with that moment at that moment. For this year. That's another conversation we can get, Michael, next season. But this year, let's play the young kids.
I agree. Who is better, Jake Guentzel or Matthew Tkachuk? I mean, these are different players, right? I mean, they're just so different. Like, Guentzel's an underrated goal scorer. He meshes really well with Sidney Crosby. Tkachuk is just going to be one of those guys, no matter where you put him, he's going to get points and he's going to piss the other team off.
I think that the best answer is exactly what you said. I would just add, it will depend what kind of team you look, what you're missing in your team and what you're looking for. Because both of them do a great job. For me, if I'm looking for a scorer, a natural scorer, I would go with Jake Guentzel. If I'm looking for a forechecker guy, go in front of the net, everything like that, I'm missing the piece of that kind of players, I would go with Tkachuk before I go with Guentzel.
And to answer this, it's definitely Brady. Like, Brady is more like Keith Tkachuk. But Matthew's like a bigger Brad Marchand. Maybe not with some skill, but he's got that annoying style where he'll go to any area, he'll kill you at the least. They're a little different. I don't know. I think Brady's like maybe more skilled. And he's definitely more the size of his dad. Like, he's a big guy. He may be bigger than his dad. Although his dad's like really thick.
I think both of them are the same DNA at the end of the day.
For sure. I don't know why Montreal would or Calgary would ever want to move a Matthew Tkachuk. It makes no sense to me. I would move out someone else before then. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
It's a one rumor, Michael, become like 1,000 rumor at the end of the day, and I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like, if Calgary trade Michael is going to be Monahan or Goodrow.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think they would turn around to give the captain to Matthew Tkachuk at some point.
You would think, right? That would be the guy that I would think. And same thing with Brady. Like, I would think at some point Brady is the captain in Ottawa.
The only thing maybe they would give him maybe more as Shabbat, but
maybe.
That's the only thing I would say. The reason why, because I believe he's been there a little bit longer. He's going to be there for a long time also. Yeah. And I think sometimes you better to have a defenseman as a captain, as a guy like Brady, where, everything happening, he's jumping left and right. I don't know him personally. I don't know what he looked like in locker room, everything like that. But
guys love him. They love him.
I think at the end of the day, Shabbat could be another one, a nomination for captain. I know he said he should have him. I just said they'll be between both of them. I believe
something up in that mix. Yep. I mean, I could even see who knows, a Tim Slutsky, but I kind of feel like it sounds like Brady Tkachuk would be right in that mix either way. All right, we don't have a lot of time. We have about 10 minutes. We see in this area we're going to have camp dates and rosters for the LA Kings coming up. We're going to have camp dates and rosters for the Anaheim Ducks. Maybe let's touch on a couple of them. For you, Pierre, what's the one big question with Anaheim that you want to know out of this camp?
Well, at the end of the day, Anaheim is a rebuild much, right? So for me, it's not about the young kids right now. It's to see what the expectation of Contois and Raquel and those veterans over there, Manson, Langholm, Gibson, and what direction the team is going to do. Those mentioned name, Manson, Langholm, and Gibson, are three name, and Renkel, it's a four name where they are on the trade bait at some point. So Anaheim, what are you going to do at the trade deadline is my biggest thing about that. It's not a team, I don't think they will make the playoff this year again. So they will let, Ken Tressel is in. Zegras, I don't, why not? They not go. I don't see him not make the team, 2 minutes with you. I will let him play. And then it's see what we do now with Terry, John, and also Steele. Three player where maybe it can be at the back of jail, one of the three at some point if they need to trade about that. So really big question over there, where it's more about the manager, what they do. Can we keep them or we start to let go the player like Langholm and Manson and maybe Gibson, Michael. Gibson could be another one over there where you have a great market, a great stock market over there. Many like being honest with you, Michael, Edmonton Oilers with John Gibson right now.
They should.
Right? And then you can get in return a Yamamoto or someone like this, or Evan Bouchard in return.
Good morning, Stefan Manberg. Our friend from Sweden is here.
Oh, the winner of the Frenchy quiz last night.
Oh, good. That's good news.
He did it, and then it's great to see him with Yarmo. You missing Yarmo, Stefan, a couple of minutes ago.
So I think Quinton Byfield, we saw this in the prospect tournament again. I think the same issues that I am concerned about him still exist, even though I think he looked good in the NHL last year, but he didn't produce anything offensively. And I didn't think he had a great prospect camp. He still has issues with balance on his skates, and he's a big guy. He's obviously filled out even more, and he's going to get bigger. I could see the comparison to Ryan Getzlaf. Corey Perry is nothing like him. Like Corey Perry is more like Matthew Tkachuk. I think Quinton Byfield needs time, guys. They need to be patient with this guy.
I'll be honest with you, Michael. The best defense I can tell you is Getzlaf was a number one center at any team in NHL, and Quinton Byfield will become, I believe, in my book, center number two in NHL.
2 or 3, maybe even 3, Pierre.
But my point is like I don't see him as a center number one, and it don't show at that moment.
I agree.
That kind of players like this, I don't see him quite carry on. Michael 90 point. And we talk about Getzlaf, Michael, an Hall of Fame player.
I mean, the guy's going to have 1,000 NHL points. He's won the Stanley Cup. He legitimately was, he's won with Canada. Like he's probably part of one of the greatest draft classes ever. And he excelled, right? That 2003 draft is kind of insane when you go back and look at it. And overall, the guy's just been a very productive NHL player. And I don't see that for Quinton Byfield. I think that his process will be, in spits and spurts. He's got some ability for sure, but the whole package is not there yet. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't take him 2 or 3 years to figure out what he is.
Yeah, I will show that one over there to see. I don't say he will not, but for me, in my eyes, he will be really, really a second center at any team in NHL. I think the guy can carry on easily, Michael, about 60 points per year. That's what I see from him. Can he become a one? Possible, but I don't see this yet. He's not showed this kind of players at that moment. You can see with Tim Canada, Michael, last season, where he was the center number 3, and they tried to push him so hard on the top 6, and he was barely make it last season.
Yeah.
Again, you said the right words with him. Patient. We see how he's going to develop, see how he's going to be there. But I think as a Los Angeles King, I really believe he's going to be a second center on that one. So. I think Alex Turcotte, Michael, is going to be in front of him.
I think Turcotte is a second center. Like, I look at that team and I'm like, of the 3 of them, I mean, Kopitar is still performing at a high level. Velarde, I understand what they're talking about putting him on the wing. I think he's a much better center. Turcotte for sure is a second line. Like, Turcotte reminds me of Bo Horvat. Like, he's like a 200-foot player. He's hard on the puck. He wins faceoffs, but he's not quite your number 1. That's kind of what Turcotte reminds me of.
And kind of a great camp, by the way.
He did. Absolutely. Like, he looks
interesting to see him every time that he struggled a little bit last year, but he's a guy have a little bit more overall better about this. Would be interesting about that. Roddy Odette back in the house. Salut mon homme.
So Anthony's question: what defenseman during the season would be worth the Panthers giving up top-end offensive talent in a prospect pool for? I mean, I think Mark Giordano, if you can get him in one of those bump deals where there's salary retained somewhere else and you give up a young guy, Mark Giordano would really fit in near the end of the year. That would be the guy that I would be kind of curious to see.
By the end of the day, Michael is going to be confused at that one over there. The trade deadline will tell to Panthers what they have to do, where they are set and on the standing, and then from that part over there, a piece of puzzle we are missing if they have to go farther is a defenseman at some point. So that's what they're going to be at that moment. The standing will guide them where they need to do for, and what they are missing is really more defensemen. I don't see any piece of the puzzle at the forward. It's more a defenseman at some point, a dead defenseman, a top 4. That would be really what they're looking for.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what.
Unfortunately for Cruikshank is maybe end of the year for him. Got a ECL the last game, so he'll be out for months and months.
ACL.
So he's not making. I don't see him make the roster at that moment. To be honest with you, after a bad, not a bad check, it's just the knee just gave up.
Bummer. No good. Yep. Sorry, guy.
Yeah, it was not like someone does something bad or some. Oh my God, this is terrible. It was just a check on the board, and the way the knee gave up right away about that.
Bud the Monkey, this is an interesting idea. I would be shocked if Columbus moves Gavrikov, but that would be a great fit for them. I can't see Columbus moving this guy. To me, he's an excellent number 3 defenseman.
He's not going to go nowhere about that. The trade bait right now in NHL, Michael, is defenseman for Anaheim. Manson is really the number 1 on the trade bait at that moment.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. They may be looking for maybe Lane Home if the case were there. Maybe Toronto may be looking for maybe Morgan Riley if it's the case. But we talk about a little bit later about that one over there. And I think Manson's not going to fix the Florida, Michael, does not need a lot at that moment. And something you have to be patient. Montreal Canadiens don't need a lot at that moment. So we are at the beginning of the year. We did not play any freaking game right now. So just let's see what happened. A lot of team, Michael, figure out after the key on any team, Michael, at the beginning of the year is to reach the milestone 20 game. That's called a quarter of the season. And then they're going to readjust. Okay, where we at? What is going to be about that? A coach going always every 10 games, right? But a manager, you're going to see where we at 20 game. Where we're going to fit? What is the after that we're going to go? What are missing? They start to talking about that. For right now, the Florida Panthers, the only move we're going to do is to sign Sasha Barkov 8 year at $10.5 million. Coach said it again. Can he get another great prediction? We're going to see that. But I believe Barkov is going to sign the next couple of days a contract of 8 year at $10.5 million. That was my prediction about that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Just we'll note this is the first training camp for the Seattle Kraken. No real surprises in this roster that they've shown, except that, I mean, this is not a deep group. And we don't see Matty Benier because he's obviously gone back to college. But otherwise, like, I don't know. This is not awe-inspiring when you look at it this way.
Yeah, but again, Michael, I will not give up on them. I believe they are underrated. I think they are really, really underrated. I think people expect nothing from them. I still believe they have a two great goaltender, good defensemen over there. It just will depends if those, and sometimes I call a team with blue collar make create more damage at a white collar team, and that's what they are. Really, a lot of blue collar over there. You know what I mean? Like you talk about Jen Kroc over there, you talk about Gord over there, and I think Don Scoey, Michael, is another one over there. Mason Appleton is another over there. Jared McCann is going to have his best year in NHL, guy. I'm telling you right now. And then when Burry showed last season, we talk about Brendan Danev, Michael, and I think Raul and Schwartz going to be fine over there. Eberle can pick it up over there. I'm telling you right now, Seattle Kraken going to surprise more what we expect. A lot of people put them out already, or they're not going to do this. But a defensive team, Michael, solid one with a kind of blue collar, I believe they're going to be. I think this team going to surprise more we expect under that division.
They're going to be competitive. I think that they're going to have a hard time, obviously, scoring goals. Their D will be competent. Their goaltending will be good. So I think what they've done is they've given themselves a foundation where they can add 2 or 3 pieces and things turn around for them pretty quickly. So that would probably come through the draft. Like if they finish low enough where they're competitive, the fans will be, I don't know. You're right though. They have, one thing we've seen is look at Vegas with depth. Look at Carolina with depth. Like depth definitely helps. But
think about this, Michael. If you analyze one by one, right? You have Krober, Trigger, right? The defense, Michael, is better what we think. They have Giordano, Larson.
Yeah. Oh, very solid, right?
Right. Then you have Olishek over there. And then I think we don't give enough credit for Borjan, Cholowski, Dunn. And then after that, you have Lozon over there and Susi over there.
Yeah, like
6 names I just mentioned for 3 job over there, Michael.
Yeah. I listen, Jamie Oleksiak, Adam Larson have not helped their own teams enough where they're difference makers. They're depth guys. Giordano's been the top D in the league and not that long ago. So he has potential to play at that level. It's still a lot of depth guys. Vince Dunn has got some offense, but he's also a bit of a problem turning over the puck. So they're not perfect. I think they're just good enough to be very competitive, and it gives them a great foundation. Like they can move some of these players out. They'd be very useful on stronger rosters. They will get draft picks, or they can keep them, wait till they draft, see Matty Beniers in a year, see who they get in the next year's draft, and then maybe they're a playoff team.
Yep.
Ken Dryden was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1983. Wow. That's a while ago. And Devin Dubnyk is not signed anywhere. I'm actually a little bit surprised.
Yep. That's the one we have to be curious about what happened about that.
That's kind of, I mean, he definitely dropped off quite a bit. We know he's had injury problems. When he was at his peak in Minnesota, he was very, very good. But maybe there's something we don't know. Like he's not young anymore.
I don't think so. They will go with goaltender number 3, Michael. If it's the case, they will bring back Matembo.
Well, he's good.
I think overall that would be. Yeah. They have him already in the organization. They know him. When he came with Florida Panthers 2 years ago, he did pretty good overall. And I think that would be more from intern if they need a third goaltender, Michael. I don't see anything. Why to spend they don't have money.
Yeah, they don't have money.
They have no money. So something have to go from intern and inside the team, to be honest with you. About Corey Hill, Michael, about Aspiro and Lacey Thompson, I don't see both of them make the roster at that moment for them.
I
About
think
that, Edmonton goaltender Alex Tarlock is going to be out, Michael, about the heart
that's
conditioning.
interesting. So I wonder what that is all about. Alex Stalock. Let's take a look. So I wonder where that came. And you saw that on Twitter? Alex Stalock.
To answer to Anthony, you don't have to pair Aaron Ekblad. You have maybe one of the best defensemen with him. It's called Mackenzie Weigard, where he fit very well with Aaron. And Weigard, in my book, is maybe top 30 right now, maybe at least a top 40 best defenseman in NHL.
Makar?
Yeah.
Or
I know Mackenzie Weigard.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good. So this is interesting. He had COVID and now he has heart inflammation issues.
Yep.
Interesting. That's not good. Sorry to hear that. So Enertap says that he feels that Vegas was better stacked, but I'm not sure if that's the case. To me, it was 2 extra picks. The quality of their group that they had coming out was probably because they had the pick that ended up in Suzuki and they had the pick that ended up in Brandstrom. They did have Alex Tuck, but so I'm not sure if there's an Alex Tuck like surprise, but that took time. Like that wasn't an immediate impact. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if you give these guys extra time and you look at that roster, I don't think they did a bad job here. Like, I think there's logic to what they did with this roster. Like, I like Morgan Geekie. That could be your Alex Tuck. Yanni Gord, like, that could be like your William Karlsson, right? So there's some analogies here. They obviously had the picks that ended up in Paxaretti. They had the pick that ended up in Mark Stone. So I think those were moves they made aggressively later. And so I think that's the difference. Like, there were no gifts to Ron Francis of first-round draft picks this time to protect players. Who do we know, like, for example, like the pick, I'm trying to think of who was protected for those 2 picks. I have to look back. Like, if you look at the Suzuki pick, for example, whose pick was it? Do we know? So we know that he went 13th overall, Winnipeg. So who did they protect? So they end up getting, this wasn't too bad for Winnipeg if you look at it like this. They got Christian Vesalainen.
Yep.
They give up the pick, though, that ends up being Nick Suzuki. How good would Nick Suzuki look in Winnipeg right now?
Yes.
But it's time again, right? And they parlayed this pick into Max Pacioretty. And then and actually they got Thomas Tatar in Montreal. So they gave up Tatar in the first. What's interesting, though, is the second was Samuel Fagemo. So that was retraded to LA. So this really could have been a home run for Montreal because, like, Fagemo ends up being, he's a really good prospect. Not in the NHL yet, of course, though. So remains to be seen. Marchessault was a good pickup for sure. I don't know, like, is there anyone in the Seattle group that you would think could be the next Marchessault? Trying to think of who might be. Okay, and just the other pick I wanted to look at was Brandstrom. And that was the New York Islanders. So they traded that first pick that ends up being Eric Brandstrom with Grabowski's contract, Jake Bischoff a second that ends up being Robert Mastroianni, who is, I think, is he not Detroit? Yeah, he was retraded to Detroit. Oh, it was that 3-way deal with Tatar, that's why. And that ends up being Mark Stone. So that's interesting. So yeah, nobody was gifting them a pick. So this was the Islanders pick, and then the other one belonged to Winnipeg. So that's interesting. And nobody did that this time with Seattle. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think there's potential there with Morgan Geekie. Is there a Marchessault amongst the group that Seattle picked?
The only one I was thinking was maybe Schwartz.
Maybe.
He's still 29 years old. He'd been
Yeah.
there before. He had two great years, like 2 years ago. So I think the only one really, I think Wenberg is going to be maybe a 20 goal over there. Gord is maybe a 20 goal over there. But someone can reach is maybe Eberle and Schwartz. Now, I'll be honest with you. The only one came in my head right now, I'll be honest with you now, I'm changing my mind, is Jared McCann. I really believe McCann is going to have a great year over there. I think he's underrated. He proved it in Pittsburgh. And I think McCann can become where nobody expect to be the one of the best player over there.
So Mark Stone was protected, Corey. He was traded. So what we were saying is Vegas started out and they had 2 extra first-round draft picks, one from Winnipeg and one from the New York Islanders. The pick from the New York Islanders later in a year was traded to Ottawa, along with it ended up being Eric Brandstrom, right? So they drafted Eric Brandstrom, and then Brandstrom was part of the trade to get Mark Stone. Stone, along with Mike Hoffman, along with Erik Karlsson, all were traded away from Ottawa as they went to rebuild because there was that drama between Erik Karlsson's wife and Mike Hoffman's girlfriend. And so the whole dressing room was a mess. So that's why all those players were moved out. So it's not that they didn't protect him. They actually made a trade. So now when you see Eric Brandstrom on your lineup, that's where it came from.
Yep. To insert to another tab, the reason why Tatar did not play, it came out in my book, Michael, is because Cole Caulfield take his spot. And with the physicality of Cole Caulfield and to know already like Tatar, they go with more like, people can play better on the under the side of the game. That's the reason really why Tatar was not involved. Without Caulfield, Tatar would play in the playoff, I believe, more game, and he would be involved with Gallagher and Dano. It's just Caulfield became really what they need, and they stepped out Tatar. And they knew at that moment, Michael, they're not going to resign Tatar. So I think they gave more time for Caulfield, and Caulfield produced anyway overall. So that's the reason, honestly, about this decision with Thomas Tatar last season.
Yeah, so look at this group. The names to keep eye on for me to just wrap it up for Seattle. Morgan Geekie, does he get a bigger role, or do they bury him on the bottom line? Cole Lind, we know, actually might have some potential to help them out. So one of those guys could be impactful young players. We're going to learn a lot about Jared McCann. We're going to find out, was Jared McCann good offensively because of Sidney Crosby and the players around him in Pittsburgh, or can he do it on his own with like other depth players?
McCann, Appleton, and Don Squee are really 3 players come in my head right now where they can really, really pick up. And again, when you have Gord and Danev and your team, expect is going to have a lot of damage inside that team. And then Appleton is another one can forecheck a lot. That team, Michael, the third line is going to be, I know, Gord, if they can put Gord on the third line, right, with Danev and a guy like Appleton, that third line would be one of the best in that league.
I think that Yanni Gord could be William Karlsson, where we already have seen he can score 30 goals in the NHL. He doesn't have high-end talent around him here, but he'll at least, I think he could get 20, 25 and kind of take up some minutes on the top line. We know he's going to start the season hurt, right? I think he's going to miss. He's listed here, but I think he's going to miss the beginning of the year. Isn't he?
He's out for 2 months.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that'll kind of hurt him. You're right. Jaden Schwartz is a very high-end player, so he might help them out offensively. Overall, this is going to be a competitive team. They're going to be hard to play against.
Definitely. Play again, Michael, they'll be hard. Every game you have to play, you have to chase their puck. You have to battle every single shift against them. That's what it's a blue-collar team.
It is.
I'll not be surprised if we build that team a little bit what Barry Trotz build their team.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yep. For the quality that they have.
Yep, I agree.
And look at Islanders, Michael. They don't have a big star as a forward, although they have Barzal.
Barzal's the kind of it.
That's it. You know what I mean? Like you talk about Toronto and Edmonton and Colorado. You talk those guys, the team. They are building that team, Michael, same style they did with Columbus before that.
I think you're right.
How about should the GM have in a lineup?
Who?
Not much, honestly. They will talk with the coach every single day. They will talk about what kind of player they're looking for together, what kind of player maybe the coach would like to get at, but he will never tell them at the coach, hey, you have to put him in the lineup or you have to do this, play the player together. Barely not happening. It's all the responsibility of the coach. And as the CEO or general manager, you never put yourself and the shoes to other your employees. You pick your employees, you let them their freedom to take their own decision for the best interest. Now, if they're looking maybe trade a player, they would suggest, you know what, maybe we want to trade Tatal, maybe put him on the lineup tonight, try to show him a little bit more. Or maybe they make a big mistake, the GM, they will try to keep a player on the lineup to not look bad or anything like that. It could happen at some point, but 99.9 GM Michael does not do anything about the roster, everything like that.
They'll say who comes up, they'll say who's on the roster, but not the lines. Like the game decisions are typically the coaching staff. I think the exception to that I would be really curious to know, and I don't know the answer to this, what's going on in Carolina. Because I feel like baseball, for example, managers barely make any decisions anymore. Like there's a team of people, including the GM in baseball, that make decisions. And I'm curious to know if Carolina, that's part of their formula, which is here's the data of who should play with who. And
I don't think so. I think Brady more have than 90%. I don't see them when they'll tell him
I hope you're right.
to do that about that. I don't see this, to be honest with you. It could be a big GM with a young rookie trainer, something like that, right?
Maybe.
Like Benjamin could talk more with Ducharme, ex-GM, like Joe Sakic, Michael, or Steve Eisenman, not tell them, but he will mention it a coach. Yeah. Wait a minute, Steve Eisenman, I'm better to listening what he have to tell me, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit, but a GM like traveling or Jim Benning in Vancouver will not tell Travis Green what to do about those kind of stuff like that. They won't go talk about the X and O or the drill, everything like that. They would mention, they all become more like a help, like another listening or another voice, but not tell them exactly what to do. I don't believe on it.
Yeah, and I think like you look in Detroit, like if anything, the young coach Blashill will have his own mentor coaches, right? He'll have Mike Babcock. Mike Babcock had Scotty Bowman. Like, even though
that's the point right there. I believe those stuff exactly. Like that. It came to the experience, right? Yeah. Came with what you luggage, the experience behind everything like that. That's good. I would say to you, for me, Jonathan Drouin, Michael, he had 50 points. It's a great year. If he gets 55 to 65, this is over my expectation.
Yeah, I don't see that.
He can reach this, but again, I don't see that kind of 60 point for him. I think a 45 to 55 point is a great year for him. And you have to check his TOI. Let's check which line he's going to play. I think overall, Michael, I see drop point for everybody in the lineup, but increase the number of goals and the point for the 9 forward. Does it make sense? Like maybe Gallagher would drop 25 goals, Michael, but you're going to have another player in the lineup is going to get from 12, 15 goals to 22 goals. So it's going to be more a team concept at only one specific players, anything like that. I feel like that's what the Montreal Canadiens are going to be built because every line, Michael, can score at that moment. Every line can score on the left side, right side, middle, the top 6 over there. The third line, I think the left wing, the right wing can score. The 4 line, Armia Lekonen can score. So I believe that team, and as a team concept, you're going to get more points and not a specific player.
This is a player that has never gotten more than 53 points in an NHL season. I think he's going to get 10 goals and 20 assists, maybe 25. I don't see him coming back. Like the NHL is a hard place to be. And if you're struggling enough to walk away from it, I just see this as a slow decline, it might be a Jake Allen situation. Jake Allen walked away and then came back, and he had some good years, and now he's a backup. And so I think that's the thing. Like, he might be more comfortable with a relegated backup role. But what's going to happen when the coach has to talk tough to him? Because he doesn't do all the right things on the ice. This is a guy that marches to his own drummer.
But I think he's on the good hands with Dominic Carmichael. So for me, I'm not too much. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. But if you have to pick a coach to be with him, Dominic Carmichael is the right answer for him. Yeah. Now, if you think about for me, 15 goal, right? 30 point, 30 assists is a great year for him for upcoming season. Everything after that, 20 goal would be amazing. At 35 assists, Michael would be great. But if he can get those kind of number at 15, 30, I feel is a great year for him for what he got last season. So increasing his number to goal is really important for me in my book, and for him. About Malkin and Ottawa, it's a great decision to think this way. The problem is Malkin is not going to be north, it's going south.
Yeah, I think he'll go Florida.
I think the Panthers get Malkin, Michael, in 2 years.
I think that's a great fit for him, and I think he would want to go there to play with.
It's a great fit for the Panthers. That's why I believe the Panthers, Michael, is going to win the Stanley Cup in 22-23. Final conference right now, Michael. A final conference, maybe go to Stanley Cup, but not going to win this year. But a final conference would be great for them. And I think after that, they're going to go to the year after that to pick up the piece what they're missing. And Malkin is the piece of the puzzle over there. You're right about this. Is we can become a second or third center over there. They can move those kind of players. And I think that's the right puzzle of what they need about that. You're going to get him a little bit cheaper also, and he's going to win a big piece of the puzzle over there. I still believe that's the key. That's my belief for the next 3 years.
I think that the hype around what Jonathan Drouin is and is not helping. He's not a first-line player.
The key behind Michael is like he just came back for the problem, right? And what is the problem, Michael, is the pressure. Let him play third line. Let him then on power play second unit. Let him play to have fun, to play hockey. Get you point left and right. Let him play 14 minutes per game, Michael. It's okay. It's fine. You have Toffoli, you have Caulfield, you have Hoffman, you have Anderson right there. You have Gallagher right there. There's five forward winger, and without numbing Likonen and Army over there, Michael. Perrault over there also. So, hey, let him go down over there.
This is the NHL. I'm sorry, this is the NHL. And if that's what it takes to make this guy successful, he's going to fail long term. This will not last. Even if it is Dominic Ducharme, he could be the nicest person in the world. At some point, if Jonathan Drouin is like having those kit gloves that you have to manage him with, it ain't going to work.
But again, on the right share, Jonathan Drouin is a second, third winger in NHL. So if you give him an expectation of 45 points, Michael, you're going to get him right there when you need him.
Pierre, he was already that. He left as a second, third line winger. He's never been a first.
My point to you, they find out what kind of player he is, right?
Yeah,
so that's what you're going to get. So he's going to get a great place for him. And to have a Jonathan Drouin, Michael, as the third line, that's amazing.
It's okay. He was already their third line winger. I don't see how this helps you. This is the same.
But that helped Michael to have a third line in NHL as Jonathan Drouin. It's better to get him as the third line, like many other line in NHL don't have that quality of proximity and player what he is.
This is, to me, like, I just don't see this working long term for them.
But I think he's the right chair with it. I think Jonathan Drouin be fine. And don't say whatever. Jonathan Drouin in NHL as the third line at $4 million, you get a lot of great players like him.
Yeah, I think there's going to be younger, hungrier players that'll take this role. And if it all depends on him, right? He's been a challenge throughout his career. That's why he was traded from Tampa. He thought he was better than he was. He didn't deal with input from the coaches very well. They moved him. They get a young defenseman in Sergachev that worked out great. And you're seeing what probably Tampa was seeing. And I understand you can label it as mental health and sleep issues, but sometimes that's a disconnect between what you think you should be and what you are. So you have a personal crisis.
But I think on the flip side, I would say because what happening to him now, he will accept to be a 45 point. It will not kind of pressure. Say, hey, minute, I'm okay with me to have fun here. I have 45 point. On the flip side, what is great in my book, he can be a potentially to get 1 year, 2 years, Michael, at 55 point. It's just a plus. You go to readjust his contract versus what he got, what he is. I think for him, at the end of the day, it's to having fun over there. Don't put him any more pressure at what you are expectation of everybody else around there. Just play hockey.
You guys are overshooting. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to name, all right, Cody Hodgson. This is the same. This is Cody Hodgson retires prematurely. He's got the same sort of issues. The NHL is not always a fun place. I
think Cody Glass is another one, could be in the
Cody
same
Glass
shoes.
might be another one.
Yep.
You know, like
he's not the only one, by the way. He's not been. You have a lot of players we don't get right now under her head. But been in the same situation with Jonathan Drouin in the past on friend ways, right? Where they expect him to get this, never reach that potential on many ways.
If he is not, this is my point. If he is not coming in with, I'm a stronger, better person. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna be the best player on this team. And if he's like, I want to have fun and I want to play in the second, third line, good for you. Because the NHL is a friggin' grind. You deal with injuries, you deal with daily practices, you deal with off-ice training, you deal with the toughest, fastest sport on the ice. And at some point, that's gonna crack. So it all depends on his attitude. And when I'm hearing people talk about, let's make him nice and fun and he'll get 55 points. I don't see that working.
But it looked like for an interview, Michael, he's looked like he's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to have a great temper there or a great mindset. And he's looking to have a great year. And I believe on that conjuncture of the winger they have, I think he fit very well with what they have at that moment.
Who else can get those points? But you don't even know if Drouin can get those points. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's off the team, but I don't see this working. I think you're going to have more productivity from Hoffman on the power play, and he's got problems in the game, but it's not whether he shows up or not.
But now but again, Michael, Jonathan Drouin is not going to be on the first line. He's going to be on the second line power play.
Yeah, and I don't think Hoffman will either, do you? I think
Hoffman, Michael, that's what he does.
First
30
line.
goals per year, 15 goal power play, 12 goals year after year, year after year. That's what he does. That's what he does, honestly. But at the end point, that's why he's always been there. I don't know why, but whenever he goes, from Ottawa to Florida and St. Louis,
he's very good. He did so far offensively, right? Like he's achieved numbers Drouin never has.
Yep,
never will. I would just look for a bounce back year from Gallagher. Can you continue to get more out of Josh Anderson than what we saw in the playoffs? Those are the keys to me that are more important. And I think Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki need to be protected and healthy because those are your top, they're going to push the envelope. I don't see Drouin helping this cause at all. I'd rather have Tatar, frankly.
What do you see right now, Michael? You're going to see this. Drouin come back down with Anderson, all right? Hoffman is going to be with Gallagher, and Toffoli is going to be with Caulfield.
I agree.
That website, I'm always not like it because he's going to be.
You hit it on the head, Pierre. Actually, it's funny you said that. So I was making these lines, and I think I said the same thing. Let's look. I can't remember. I did this last night because I was just playing around with it, and I looked at Detroit and I looked at Montreal, and I think what you just said is what I was thinking. I don't know why. Yeah, let's look here. I said Suzuki, Toffoli, and Caulfield. I did have Drouin with Dvorak and Gallagher, and I had Hoffman Evans, but I think it's honestly the other way around.
Yeah. The reason why, Michael, because Drouin liked to play a lot with Anderson last season.
There you go.
And I think Hoffman is more like Tatar at the end of the day. and Devarek is more like Drouin.
Yeah.
So Gallagher fit very well at what the line you have right now on my point.
It's not bad, you know. Like I think that makes a lot of sense. How do you zoom? There we go.
The good news about Montreal, Michael, they have some depth because now you're missing Likonen and Armia right there, right? And then you have to add Perrault and Paquette. So the depth on forward, Michael, that's what I said. They don't have no spot for any player in NHL right now to join that team.
Guys, this is what I'm saying, Intertap. He is a 53-point player at his best. He's done it twice. He got 21 and 18 goals. And he was a minus player every year. But if you look at last year and this year, in 71 NHL games, he got 9 goals and 29 points. And I think he'll get 10 goals and 25 assists, and that'll be it. And I don't think long-term he's going to go 60, 65 points. If he does, he's going to shock me. What's changed?
Again, a 15 goal and 30 point is what I expect from him. Everything after that, it will depend the rest of what he's going to do. But
I think he'll get 10 and 25, and if he gets 45, that'll be a great year for him.
I think if he's going to get more assists, Michael, to the merge between assist and goal is more bigger at what is closer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, to me, that's why I say, like, I think the reality is he's a 10-goal, 25-assist guy coming back. And if he has a bang-up year, he might start hot, but he'll end up with 15 goals and 30 assists, like you said. I don't see him getting 55, 65 points.
So ratio of 2 versus 1. Yep. All right, guy. Anybody else, right? Because it's 12:30 and we have to go all the way. So
thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good job, Frenchy. I'm glad we had on. Tomorrow, training camp begins.
Day number 1, training camp for everybody. We're going to be there tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern time with a Power Play show. And I will see you tomorrow morning also with Michael at 11 o'clock. Have an amazing, great Wednesday, Michael, and the rest of the Hockey Nation Live Show family.
Thanks, Pierre. Thanks, everyone.